Red tape, inflating housing costs. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to look at an interesting article from ABC highlighting just how red tape legislation inflates housing costs. Now this is something I've been, frustrated about since my time at university, when I first learned about all of the energy efficiency requirements that they're bringing in, or they brought in then, to the National Construction Code. All of these additions to buildings that sound good, that make people feel good, that allow politicians to claim we've got so many star energy rating for our houses, but just ends up costing the consumer more. You've got to understand, everything that you legislate is additional cost. And some of these things are perks, everyone. And these buildings may not last long enough for the embodied energy that you put in for the environmental things to actually make any difference. And if people want to put these things into the buildings, let them do it themselves. Don't legislate for it. This is one of the reasons why housing is getting so very expensive. So let's have a look at this article. So, small home dream can become a nightmare of red tape due to building codes and laws. There you go. We're not actually talking tiny homes. It looks like we're talking really just small houses. So, Jerry Levi and his family are preparing to move into their new home. But they haven't gone down the mainstream path. We've built a small home to try and remain debt-free. It's extremely small, Mr. Levi, who designed the new home, said. To be exact, it's 7.2 meters by 3.6 meters. Now, I've got no problem with this. Fantastic, brilliant idea. If they want more space, they can just extend it. That's it. It's basically a large living space with a little loft and a rather oversized bathroom for a house of this footprint. Here's the thing, everyone. I've been playing, Skyrim again? And you go into the little houses there that are based on, fantasy houses or where the whole family lived in one room. Are we going back to that type of housing again? Maybe we are. Sasha Levy said they wanted to build out of the bigger city. They ended up settling on a block of land in Tasmania's meandering valley near Launceston in the state's north. Lonnie's a lovely place. You got the Bogues Brewery down there too. Everyone knows each other, and we just take care of each other, she said. But they've been surprised by the amount of red tape and regulation that comes with building a small house. Well, it's with every type of house. Small houses are becoming increasingly popular as house prices soar. Bronte Booth manages Timber World and said people were looking at various ways to get into the market. We've been inundated with inquiries for building activity. It's just become really unaffordable to build at all, so people are looking at small options for houses, he said. But Mr. Levi said it had been unnecessarily difficult to get the project off the ground. Well, that's what happens with all the regulation and BS. So, $100,000 for a tiny place. There's a number of inherent problems in the approval of a small house, he said. I would say the building code and legislation are tailored to the typical 2 to 3 bedroom home, and there isn't enough provision for small-scale living. Building codes dictate houses need to have 3 sinks, one for the bathroom, kitchen, and laundry. Well, yeah, they're health and safety requirements, everyone. Even though if it's not, you can understand why they're specifying these requirements, but you can get away without having it. They have in the past. Even in a house that is very small, you're required to have 3 sinks, otherwise you can't get occupation, he said. It's not very easy to fit all of that into a small footprint like this. Mr. Booth said people were often spending thousands of dollars before the build even started. It's really prohibitive for young people and people without a lot of money, he said. It just seems completely unnecessary, and before you even start work, it costs $10,000 to $20,000 in paperwork. Well, yeah, you have to pay people to design and document. And with the 3 sinks, this is why you're getting the tiny housing movement, where it's essentially a glorified caravan so they can get around the requirements of the National Construction Code. So thousands of dollars on plans. I've got no problem with that. Plans should cost thousands of dollars. I don't do houses, guys. We don't do houses. I can't compete. Building designers will do a speccey for like $1,000, crazy cheap. And I can't take that many years of liability on for so little money. Rod Baker is about to turn 70 and was not planning on building a home at this point in his life, but he's looking at building a small home in Minder. I have no reason to have a big home. It made sense to build a smaller house to keep it warm and keep it clean, he said. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But he was dismayed at the amount of red tape he had to deal with. I spent $10,000 on surveys, soil tests, bushfire alert levels, approvals, a building surveyor. That was a bit of a shock because I thought for such a small house, it wouldn't be that excessive, he said. Well, that's just lack of experience, really. All of these things that you need to get, they stay the same. Doing this building surveying on a small house is not going to be any cheaper to a big house. Honestly, it's not going to be that cheaper. And all the reports and bushfire levels, all of that stuff, that's going to cost the same. The soil test isn't going to get any cheaper. Survey isn't going to get any cheaper if your house is smaller. I've had to put a passing bay at the driveway entrance too for a fire engine to come in if I'm leaving when a fire engine is coming in. Oh, that's stupid. That's just, there you go. Mr. Baker said the building process should be streamlined. I think there's a lot of double handling of things, of issues, and of finances. Well, this happens because people are afraid. People call for legislation. People call for the government to come in and regulate. Okay? This is the other side of it, guys. This is the other side. Can't have it both ways. Do you want over-regulation and additional costs, or do you want less regulation and more risk on the buyer? You tell me what you'd rather. So, the industry is calling for change. Christine Brookfield, the Chief Executive for Industry Policy at the Housing Industry Association, said planning codes and laws were between 40 to 50 years old. They certainly get changed over time, but they're still created around this position that you will build a house that pretty much looks like every other house in the street, she said. There needs to be a bit of change everywhere. The councils control the planning system along with the state governments, and I think there needs to be more flexibility. Ms. Brookfield said the HIA was researching what the regulatory barriers were for building tiny homes and prefabricated homes. Hopefully in the next 12 months, we can deliver a report back to government which can highlight where reform can happen, she said. Well, you know what's happening here. We're getting a move away from larger houses, and we're going back to how people used to live back in the day because it's all they could afford. I mean, I don't blame them. It looks like a beautiful little house. Lovely. And staying out of debt, that's brilliant. Very jealous. That's great. Although I don't think I could quite handle living in a house that size with my army of children. I'd probably need a few of them. Maybe get one just for the kids. So what do you reckon, everyone? What's the solution to this? Okay. So there's a few things that people are going to be putting out here. People will want tiny homes. They're using tiny homes to get around some of the National Construction Code requirements. It's going to be interesting to see what the HIA comes up with and if there will be any revisions into the NCC, the National Construction Code, to allow for tiny homes. Honestly, they should have another category. Because right now it's frustrating seeing people build glorified caravans to get around the legislation. There needs to be more flexibility, more adaptability in the NCC, the National Construction Code, to accommodate these type of cheaper houses. Now, there are provisions where you can do performance-based solutions to certain requirements in the National Construction Code. Essentially, you need to do reports and investigations to prove what you're doing satisfies the requirements that they stipulate in the code. In that regards, our building code is actually very flexible. But there's a cost associated with that. That costs more money and adds to the cost of projects. And if people are going down this path because they can't even afford to build a real home, that's not the way to do it. So hopefully, the HIA are on the right path, and they are going to lay out a solution that politicians and people can take forward. I think another thing to consider is getting involved in politics at the local level. If you want to live where you can have tiny homes, where there can be more flexibility, you need to step up and get involved in council so you can advocate and push for changes to legislation and planning requirements. because a lot of that comes down from national level all the way down to council level. A lot of it even has international influence trickling all the way down. So that's what I would hope would be the solution to some of these issues. A lot of the costs and the other legislative requirements that they put onto these buildings, they need to be addressed and reduced as well. Well, hopefully we'll see that happen. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. One of the first videos I did was the suggestion that people get an old mining donga, move that to a site and use that as the basis for a house. It already has a kitchen, fixtures, fittings, everything in there. And you get the nice, bigger, posher ones, or it could be the wing where it's all your bedrooms with little en-suites. Why not? It's a good start, but then, of course, you've got to fight with council. As always, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon, sign up for SelfWealth or Stake, use our affiliate links for Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now.